All right, welcome back to episode 15 of the test run. This week, I think I'm going to do something a bit different just because I'm incredibly scrapped on time. I basically had like a bunch of schoolwork that I had to do, and then I wrapped up season 4 of Lifesteal, and I'm working on a video, and then I've got prom tomorrow, all this kind of stuff. So basically, last night I posted a little thing on my community tab on my Parrot Shorts channel, just asking for questions. And all of you kind of came in clutch. There's 336 questions on there right now. I'm going to try to get through as many of them as possible. Some of them I'll be able to answer pretty quickly. Some of them might take me a bit more time. But thank you all for sending questions, and let's hop into it. This will probably, I don't even know. I'll see how long it lasts, but this will be interesting. I've never done a solo podcast. I've never really done anything besides a speed Q&A. So I think it'll be interesting to go really in depth into some of these questions because some of these are good. All right. The first one is from Moldy. They said, I find it hard to believe that you've managed to achieve so much so early in your life. Does this ever weigh down on you? Do you ever have moments of awe when you reflect on what you've done? Or is this sort of just something that happened that you don't think about too much? This is kind of interesting. So does this ever weigh down on you? I assume you're talking about what I've done on YouTube and all that kind of video stuff. In terms of the actual YouTube channel itself, that never really weighs down on me in any way whatsoever. What does weigh down on me more is the pressure to make videos, which I know a lot of people say, oh, just take your time, don't worry about it. But the fact of the matter is that if I don't post a video, it's not just that it stresses me out because, let's say, views go down or numbers go down. It's also that I really love posting videos in the first place. I love just clicking publish on videos and watching them go live and seeing how everybody reacts to them. That's kind of what weighs down on me the most. The second part on this question, do you ever have moments of awe when you reflect on what you've done? Honestly, yeah. Like, what's really interesting is that when I did blow up, I kind of went from 20,000 to 100,000 subscribers in like something crazy. It was like 8 days. I think during that moment, I remember a week after I posted the school SMP video, which is like the video that really kicked off my career, I went into school and I remember sitting outside at lunch and one of my friends is like, you just hit 100K. And I'm like, what? I did. And I knew that I did, but that kind of stunned me. Another time, I think it was right after I posted the school SMP video last summer, which was why I removed the world. I just remember it went ballistic and everything on my channel just picked up and started going off. And that was another point when I was like, wow, this is kind of crazy. I can't believe that this is happening because I haven't really said, I think I've talked to this with RecRap, but way back then when I just started my channel, I remember I would have dreams where I basically in the dream, I'd be looking at my video statistics and the video statistics would be like 600 views in one day. And I remember waking up and I was like, dang, I really wish my videos would get 600 views in one day. And as soon as everything just kicked off, I kind of think back on that moment and I'm like, wow, even when a video doesn't perform how I expect it to, or something along those lines, I'm like, back then, I would have been ecstatic if I got 600 views in one day. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question. This is an interesting one from Snow Leopard 8898. They said, as the owner of Lifesteal, do you ever feel over obsessed with how other members' videos perform more than your own? From a competitive standpoint, not at all. So like in the sense that, oh, his video or her video is doing better than mine. But that's kind of because it doesn't, the competitive side doesn't affect me because the fact of the matter is that if another Lifesteal member's video does well, it helps the server, and it helps me, and it helps Clown, and it helps Rec, and it helps anybody else on Lifesteal in the same way that it helps the person who posted it. Obviously not as much, but Lifesteal is kind of like an ecosystem. So if someone posts a video, it helps everybody else, especially if it does really well. But I think what this person's asking is more like, do I feel obsessed with how other people's videos do well because that'll help the server? And the answer is no, because I think that for other Lifesteal members, like, they have their own paths, and they're going to have their own journeys, and it doesn't really matter to me how they approach content. Some people like to stream more, some people do shorts more. Some people just have different plans with content. So if another person's video is doing really, really well, I'll obviously congratulate them. I'll say, great job on the video doing well. But I'm not going to sit there and like be sad if someone's video isn't doing well. And I'm also not going to obsess over if someone's video did well. I'll just say, great job. This is what I liked in the video. This is what I didn't like, blah, blah, blah. I'll do that for a lot of videos. Hold on. Let me open the window. Oh, this is an interesting one. How do you plan to integrate AI into your content, whether on the surface level or not? Do you think it will change the game in a significant way in the next few years? AI, I think, is really, really powerful for certain things, right? I think AI is really good for brainstorming. It's good for concepting. It's good for coming up with ideas. But there's some things that AI can't replace. So for example, right, let's say you take a story, and a lot of my videos are based around stories that actually happened. And a lot of times I'll take that story that happened and I'll turn it into its own kind of cohesive narrative. And that narrative is like the baseline for my video. I'll voice record that. I'll put it in my editing timeline, and then I'll put in the clips. I'll put in the footage, the music, the sound effects, everything. The thing about AI can make the structure for a script, hello? Okay, wait. Okay. Whoops, my thing just unplugged. What I was saying is that AI can make the structure for a script. It can tell you this event, this event, this event, put this event in here, this event in here. But AI is just not, there's something lacking from AI. And I think a big part of that is the fact that I forget exactly what law it was. I know there was this like robot enthusiast way back then called Isaac Asimov, and he basically had 3 rules about robots. And I forget exactly what they were, but people have made sure, because of what Isaac Asimov has said, they've made sure that robots can't be sentient, and they don't want AI to be sentient, which means that AI can't feel emotion, right? So an AI can create the structure for a script, and they can probably write a pretty good script too. But what I think lacks from AI, even really advanced AI like GPT-4, which is the new Chat GPT, what lacks from that is like actual raw emotion. So AI doesn't know how I was feeling when I died during this scene, or when I won something in this scene, or when I pulled off a heist. And AI doesn't know that. And I think AI is going to be really, really useful for certain things, especially if it starts getting branched into like editing softwares. And I've even seen stuff of like AI editing podcasts for you based on footage. But I think it's going to be incredibly difficult for an AI to actually be able to capture that raw emotion that you were feeling. And that's why I think AI won't be able to replace writing entirely. I think it'll be able to aid you in a lot of ways. Like, I've already started using it for brainstorming and coming up with certain concepts and titles and whatnot. But I think that writing is a really crucial part of videos, and AI, personally for me, is not going to be able to replace that entirely. Let's see. Okay, this is an interesting one from Morningfield. They said, how do you balance YouTube and schoolwork? Yeah, so if y'all didn't know, I am a senior in high school right now, and I started my channel at the beginning of my sophomore year, which was a long time ago. That was like almost 3 years ago. But a big part of my channel and a big part of my like high school career kind of was that finding a balance between schoolwork and YouTube was incredibly difficult because, as you can imagine, especially in, let's say, my junior year, when I was taking 4 AP classes and I was in all these clubs, I would come home and I was just drained, like mentally drained. And I also had work at home, right? And I don't know how many people knew this, but until this semester, I was a pretty much complete straight A student. Obviously, once you get into college, like your grades don't matter as much. They still matter, but you can get away with like a couple B's. So, how did I balance it? That's a good question. I think a lot of times, if you can just plan out chunks of time for doing this and you can say, all right, I'm just going to put my head down for the next hour and I'm going to finish my math homework. That's all I'm going to focus on. Because a really bad thing I did back then was I multitasked. I would say, all right, while I'm editing this video, while I'm doing this on Lifesteal or whatever, I'm also going to be doing my homework. And the way you have to kind of think about it, right? If you put 100% into one thing, you're putting 100% into it. In the best case scenario in multitasking, you're putting 50% into one thing and 50% into the other. Let's say you're doing 2 tasks, right? So you still have like 100% of your brain power, but it's just split among 2 things. That's impossible though. Getting that 50-50 split, or let's say 70-30 split or 80-20 split, that's impossible. And the reason for that is because you're constantly switching between 2 tasks so quickly that it takes time for your brain to adjust, and it takes time for your brain to get in this flow state. So do not multitask. I used to multitask a lot back then, but it was just a complete waste of time. Versus, as I said, if you just put your head down, I'm going to go 100% in on my math homework, then I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to come back and do whatever. That's a lot more efficient, and that's a lot more effective. That's how I think I've been able to balance school a lot. Another thing that is kind of difficult too, especially back then, all I would think about was YouTube. So I would kind of zone out in class sometimes, and I'd just be thinking of like a thumbnail or some scene in a video that I wanted to happen, and I would not be paying attention in class, and I would have to catch up at home. Do not do that. Just focus on what you need to focus on and do what you have to do, and it'll all work out. Okay. Muyo said, what does a day in the life of Parrot look like? That's interesting. Recently, actually, I can just break this down. So recently, I've been kind of going on runs in the morning. So I'll usually get up at if I'm going on a run, I'll get up at 7:20. I'll run for 30 minutes. I'll get back at 7:50, take a shower. I don't eat breakfast for some reason. I just don't feel that good when I eat breakfast. So I'll take a shower. I'm out the door and I get to school. School goes from 8:20-ish until 3. I'm not really in any clubs right now because all of them kind of ended. All the national stuff ended. But yeah, so currently 8:20 to 3 is school, 8:20 to 3. And then I'll get home. I don't really have any homework right now either. So honestly, from when I get home to, let's say 6 p.m., I'm working on YouTube stuff. And then I'll eat dinner. Some days I'll hang out with my friends, especially on school days. After dinner is when I'd be hanging out with my friends. And then what's kind of weird is I'll hit another workout at 10 p.m. So I basically just go down to my basement. I have these things called Bowflex dumbbells, which are dumbbells that you can change the weights on just by turning a dial. And I'll use those. I'll work out for another 30 minutes. So Exercise, in total, I'm exercising for like an hour a day, and I haven't really been getting that great sleep. Like, I'll usually go to bed at around 1, um, and I'll sleep for 6.5 hours. I really need to get working on that because I've kind of realized how important sleep is. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Okay. Cloudy Kitty said, how long do you spend editing one video? That's a great question. So I think it really depends on the video. Some videos I spend, I don't know, 20 hours editing. I've had videos that I've spent 80 hours editing. And the weird thing is, when I spend 80 hours editing a video versus 20, I've kind of found that it's just luck on how it performs, right? So obviously, if I put 80 hours in, I've seen that it performs, a bit better than putting in 20 hours into a video. But I've had videos that I've spent 20 hours on go absolutely viral. I've had videos that I've spent 80 hours on go absolutely viral. I've had videos that I've spent 50 hours on go absolutely viral. So a lot of times I can sink more time into editing a video, but it honestly doesn't matter as much as you would expect. So for example, why I removed the world, that was a huge time investment. Editing that video, I think that was probably an 80-hour video that I took to edit, right? Versus a video like, what's a good one? Well, way back then, I broke 117 bedrock. That video took 20 hours to edit, and that's gotten just as many views as why I removed the world. Then I've had videos like 100 servers, which I probably spent like 60 on, and that does really, really well. And I've also had videos like the Rec Rap one, which I spent 20 on, and that does really, really well. So honestly, it depends on the complexity of the story. It depends on how motivated I am to edit the footage. That's a big part, by the way. Like, the more fun I had recording the footage, the more motivated I am to edit it, and the more time I'm willing to sink into it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see. What is the most important thing you've learned in your life so far? And what have you struggled with the most in life? Okay, this is a good one. And for me, there is one thing that applies to both the most important thing I've learned in life and what I've struggled with, and that's finding a balance. So, way back in my junior year, when I was grinding content and my channel had just taken off, I was just head down, full focused on content, which, yeah, I enjoyed it and I had a really, really great time. But at the same time, I wasn't really investing a lot of time into like my real life friends and people in my real life that I actually cared about. So I didn't really have a balance because I was putting so much time into YouTube and I wasn't really thinking with my head straight, right? And I think it's really important because the way I kind of think about it, right, is at the end of the day, what matters to you is what matters to you, which sounds repetitive, but it's kind of true. Because if something doesn't matter to you, then why would you put your time in it, right? But for something like my real life friends versus YouTube, they both matter to me. And I can't diversify my time, or not diversify. I can't just sink all my time into one thing if they both matter to me a lot. So what I've kind of learned also is that when I've found a balance, I am the most productive. When I've hung out with my friends a lot, I can get a lot done on YouTube at the same time because I have a clearer kind of mental headspace and I don't even know. Like, I'm happier, I guess. And when I'm happier, I make better videos. And when I make better videos, I'm happier. And as a result, I'll spend more time with my friends. So it's like kind of a cycle. And I think balance is really, really important. So yeah, that's probably the most important thing I've learned. Just create time for things that matter to you. Okay, this is an interesting one. Underdog08 said, is it awkward talking to your IRL friends who are also content creators, or do you treat each other like anybody else? So luckily for me, Underdog is referencing Woogie and Vortex, who are two creators who go to my school, and I actually knew them, which is really cool. I knew them. Well, mostly I knew Woogie before. I knew Vortex a little bit, but even after I blew up and they also blew up, we didn't treat each other any differently. I remember the entire summer of my sophomore year, I was grinding lifesteal and all these things with Vortex, and we had a computer science class on our first day back from summer, and we literally had not talked in person all summer because I was in Japan, he was in the US, we were just playing Minecraft and making videos. And I remember coming back and I saw him for the first time in that computer science class. And I was like, bro, what is up, my man? And like, we've been really, really good friends since. Same with Woogie. Like, we literally just treat each other like we're normal people. We honestly, we don't even talk that much about YouTube in person. Like, we've kind of just realized that YouTube is something that's meant for like YouTube and online stuff. So it's kind of nice. Yeah. Okay. This is another really interesting one from Underdog08 as well. Obviously, the lifestyle SMP won't last forever, but where do you see yourself going with content when it does start to disappear? And I think this is really important to clear up. Obviously, nothing lasts forever. I don't think lifesteal will last forever. I do think that it will last a long time, though, right? But that being said, if it were to just disappear, it would fall entirely on what kind of videos I wanted to make. If lifesteal was the only content source that I had fun making, I wouldn't make YouTube videos on my channel anymore. And that's the same thing. Like, if I can't find a way to have fun making videos, then it doesn't make sense for me to do it. So, like, where do I see myself going with content? I would just try and find something that I had fun doing. So I would try to find another server, or I would try to come up with some sort of challenge. Like you saw how RecRap did 1,000,000 melons, maybe a challenge like something like that, or I don't even know, something that brought me joy, that brings me joy. I would gravitate towards that, and I'd make content revolving around that. So yeah, I think the reason why I make videos on lifesteal is because it's pretty fun. Like, I have a lot of fun having interactions with other creators and pulling off cool plots and that kind of stuff. So yeah. Let's see. There are a lot of comments. I'm just kind of, I didn't really pick these out beforehand. Like, I'm just scrolling. Okay, this is a good one. Chi said, do you feel obligated to produce better and better videos every time you post a new one? I had this mindset for a while, and I think it's a really toxic mindset to have, that your content needs to exceed the quality of your previous video. And I had that for a while. I would say, I'm improving. Boom, 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 boom. And I was improving at such an exponential rate that I couldn't keep up. And I was putting so much time into each video that my upload schedule dropped. And at that point, I kind of realized this increase in knowledge and growth isn't sustainable. Especially, as I said, if I'm trying to balance, this kind of growth is not sustainable at all. And I'm not talking about growth in like sub count and views and whatever. I'm talking about growth in how good these videos were each time. And I basically read this book called Atomic Habits a few months ago. And what Atomic Habits kind of said is that you should aim for 1% increases or 1% growth, kind of, for every single thing that you do, every single time you do something. So I guess I do kind of feel obligated to make better and better videos, but it's not at a rate that's unsustainable. It's at a rate where let's make this video just as good as the last one, but let's add something here and let's add something here and then let's post it. It's ready to post. And then slowly you get better and better, but it's spread out more over time. And I guess it is fine if you want to go down that route where you're just exponentially getting better and better, but you also do have to realize there is a point where it gets harder to get better. The way I kind of see it, I'm not sure if anybody has seen like a carrying capacity graph, but it starts out as an exponential function and then it kind of approaches this line, this limit, and it can't get to the limit because in this case, the limit is like the theoretical perfect YouTube video, right? It's impossible to make a perfect YouTube video, but you can get pretty dang close. So I think as long as I'm on that line that's approaching like that theoretical perfect YouTube video, and I'm not focusing on making it, but I'm just focusing on improving, it's fine. As long as I find balance for other things and I can do all these other things and I'm still getting good grades in school, that's kind of what matters to me. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. What do you think you would be doing if your channel wasn't as successful as it is, / you didn't create the Lifestyle SMP? Would you still create SMP videos and stuff like that? Honestly, I don't think I had a Mr. Beast mindset, right? When I think Mr. Beast mindset, Mr. Beast was all in on YouTube. You have to make YouTube videos. Keep making YouTube videos until you become a YouTuber and until you can support yourself. I didn't really have that mindset at all. Like, I was a really competitive person and I was like, wow, I really want to beat the game of YouTube and I want to get a silver play button and that. But I was never really at this point where YouTube was my only option. And I was never at this point where I wanted YouTube to be my only option. In fact, I think if by the end of the summer of my sophomore year, so entering junior year, I wasn't making money from YouTube, I don't think I would have continued it, because at that point, right, when you're entering your junior year, you have a big decision to make, and it's kind of like a trade-off. So your junior year matters the most in college admissions. So your grades in your junior year, blah, 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 blah. That's what colleges look at. And for me, my parents cared a lot about college. They cared about getting into a good school. And that's kind of what was not enforced. That's not the right word. It was what was promoted in my house. And when YouTube started taking off, my parents weren't as strict with school because they were like, oh, this might actually work on a college application. And as a result, doing as good in school wasn't as important to them. Like, obviously, they still wanted me to do really well in school, but because I had grown so much on YouTube, they were like, okay, he does have a backup plan, and this also probably will work on college applications, so why not just let him go with it? But I think if I was entering my junior year and I wasn't at that point yet, like I wasn't at, let's say, 1,000 subscribers, because I think when you hit 1,000 subscribers, like that's a really important milestone. If I wasn't there yet, I think I wouldn't have continued YouTube. Obviously, I loved it, but I think my priorities would have been somewhere else. Yeah. So That's a really good question. Um, how do you keep motivating yourself? YouTube is exhausting, so what's the other factor than just motivation that keeps you pushing to the edge to make content? That's a really good question. I think it's just having fun with videos. If you're not having fun with videos and you're not having fun recording them, you're not going to have fun looking back through the footage and turning it into a video. Like, if there's a video that I just do not want to edit, I've never actually done this, but I've basically boiled it down to two possible outcomes when I have a video that I just do not want to edit. One is I scrap the video, and two is I would hire some editor to edit it for me. I've never actually done either of those. Like, I've never really scrapped a video, but the reason why I think I stay so motivated on YouTube is because I have fun recording. And when you have fun recording, that translates into having fun editing. And when you have fun editing, that translates into you're putting more creativity in your video and you're making it a better video because you want it to do well because you had fun, and it's all a cycle. So if one of those parts of the cycle fails, then the whole cycle fails. Like, if you don't have fun recording, you're not going to have fun recording or editing. If you don't have fun editing, you're not going to make a good video. If your video doesn't do well, then it's just pent up stress. So, yeah, I think having fun is by far the most important part, especially if you're in YouTube more for like the creativity aspect and not necessarily the business aspect. Not Inferno said, what tips do you have for small Minecraft creators and how would you start all over again knowing the algorithm? Okay. For reference, a lot of people like to say the algorithm, right? The algorithm is just your audience. The algorithm is just viewers, right? Because at the end of the day, the way I kind of think about it, and I kind of kept this top secret for a while, but I don't really care if people know about this because making a good video versus knowing what the algorithm does are two completely different things, right? YouTube wants to make money. How do they make money? They make money by promoting ads. I'm sure everybody knows this, but the algorithm is everybody on YouTube divided into a bunch of small groups and then divided on the individual level. And the algorithm is taking personal preferences of individual viewers and it's taking those preferences to make decisions for bigger groups. So it's saying, okay, person A is in the Minecraft group, specifically the Minecraft SMP group. Person A enjoyed this video. Let's see if 20 more people from the SMP group enjoy this video as well. Oh, they do. Now let's push it out to 400 people and you keep on going basically. So, kind of knowing this, I would go back and I would just focus on making the best videos possible as a smaller creator. But that being said, as a smaller creator, I think it's important to focus on quantity over quality, which might not sound right. Because personally for me, I would go back and focus on quality because I already know how to edit and I already know how to do all these things. But a lot of what YouTube is boils down to intuition. And over time, as you post more and as you see more stuff, you're like, oh, I need to cut this out. I need to include this. I need to put this voice recording 0.3 milliseconds closer, blah, 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 blah. It comes down to your gut instinct a lot of times. So unless you know how to make really good videos and unless you have a lot of experience, I would say post as much as you can. Obviously, don't post horrible videos if you know you can make them better. But rule of thumb, I would say try to post at least once a week. Like when I first started, I was posting every other day, and I think I did that for like 2 months. A lot of those videos are private, but if I didn't do that, I wouldn't know a lot about editing, and I wouldn't know a lot about how to create more captivating voiceovers and sound better. So yeah, that is essentially my take on it. Just upload more. As you get better and as you see more growth, you can slow down the uploads a little bit. And then, yeah. All right. Okay. This is an interesting one. I keep saying interesting, but like, I don't know what other word to use for this. Bao said, why in Lifesteal Season 3 were people posting very consistently? And then after Season 4 ended, some creators still only have 2 videos posted. Yeah, so I feel like there was a big issue with Season 4. I think a lot of people were demotivated, if that makes sense, to make content. I think a lot of people got burnt out because of how long we've been doing Lifesteal 4. That played a role. But at the beginning of Season 4, we all kind of gathered in a VC or like a Discord voice channel. And we were like, all right, this season, we really just want to focus on streaming. We want to focus on this specific aspect, right? So a lot of people don't know this because you're probably not on Twitch or you haven't seen a lot of the streams, but compared to Season 3, the number of streams and the hours that Lifesteal members have put into streams is far more in Season 4 than Season 3. And as a result, I think uploading took a pretty big hit. On top of that, a lot of Lifesteal members are still in high school and a lot of them are in college right now. So people were kind of focusing their time onto things that weren't YouTube related. But luckily, I think people are really, really motivated for Season 5. So that shouldn't really be an issue. Hopefully. Cross my heart. All right, let's see. But yeah. Some of these are so funny. Okay. Has any Lifesteal member caused enough trouble for you to consider banning them? If so, can you get into detail? So I'm going to talk more about from the hacking perspective. At the beginning of Season 3, Mapic thought it was a really good idea to log on the server and X-ray and use X-ray to find netherite. And honestly, his reasoning for this was kind of fair. He was like, dude, clown jumped me like in spawn. It was supposed to be protected and I just wanted my stuff back. And I thought that was pretty fair. But Vitality and Subs basically found a bunch of X-ray tunnels in the nether. And we eventually found out that it was Mapic. And Mapic got a 1-week ban for this. Honestly, like Mapic and I are such good friends now, so it doesn't really matter. But that was just like a bruh moment. I remember everybody was like, no way this dude was X-raying on the server. But that was like over a year ago. What percentage of your free time should be spent trying to create content? What is the best way to maximize editing efficiently? In terms of editing efficiently, it's just knowing your software. I think that whatever software you choose, it's like learning a language. So if you're fluent at it, then you can edit faster. And RecRap, I know he has so many keybinds. Like he's gotten so good at using Premiere Pro keybinds that he edits like he can edit like a full video in probably 25 hours. And by full video, I mean 30-minute video. Like that is crazy. But yeah, it just takes practice. It takes time. As you get better and as you spend more time making videos, you're eventually just going to get to this point where you're fluent in your software and you can spend like the minimum amount of time cutting and doing whatnot because you're so fast at it. But what was the first part? What percentage of your free time should be spent trying to create content? Honestly, that is as much free time you're willing to dedicate to making content. If you want to put in 20 hours a week and it's not stressing you out, then put in 20 hours a week. If you want to put in 40 hours a week, then put in 40 hours a week. It's really up to you how badly you want to become a content creator. how well you can balance time and how efficiently you can get stuff done. Has content creation ever affected your mental health? I think I talked about this in a podcast I did with Caboodle, but for those who didn't listen to that, basically like what I said was that what I hate about YouTube Studio is that when you go in, it has your newest video and then it has how it's doing out of your past 10 videos. So back then I would pay a lot of attention to that. I would say, if I'm not getting like 3 out of 10s, 2 out of 10s, or 1 out of 10s, which are like top one, or top 1, top 2, top 3 videos out of your best 10, then what am I even doing? And I think that was a really toxic way to look at it, especially if you take YouTube from the standpoint that it should be a marathon. You're obviously going to have 8 out of 10s and you're obviously going to have 10 out of 10s. Like, that's just going to happen. But as I said earlier, if you try to stay on that exponential graph because you can't realize that it's like a carrying capacity or it's approaching a limit, then it's really going to affect you. And it did affect me. So I kind of had like really bad anxiety when posting a video back then, because I would be like, oh, is this going to 10 out of 10 or is this going to 1 out of 10? Is this going to do well or is it not? So yeah, that's kind of how it affected me. Luckily, I don't really pay that much attention to the numbers anymore. Like if I get a 7 out of 10 now, I'll look at it and I'll say, okay, this is what I did wrong. This is what I can't do in the future. And yeah, then I just move on. So I think that's really important because mental health is so important in YouTube space, because you're kind of like placing your entire validity on a bunch of numbers. And if you do that, it can get really, really toxic to yourself. So I would just suggest not doing that and making sure that you're just focused on improving and you don't let the numbers affect you. Okay. What is more stressful, being a YouTuber or being a student? Honestly, I think it's being a student, because the way I kind of think about it is, okay, yeah, I'm a YouTuber, I'm making videos, but it's not like that's my only thing, right? Like I have never really seen YouTube as a permanent career, which might sound weird because I feel like I could take it where I want to take it. I could become like a YouTube consultant if my channel failed, or I could start another channel, or I could get hired by a bigger creator and do something. But I've kind of never seen it that way. Like I've kind of just said, okay, YouTube is this thing that I just really like doing, so I will keep on doing it. And if it fails, then I can just default back on school. And for me, like getting into a good college, as I said before, was just something that was promoted a lot in my home. And as a result, there was a huge expectation placed on school. Like I should be getting these grades and I should be doing these clubs. And yeah, I think school has been a lot more stressful than YouTube. Obviously, there are times when YouTube is stressful, like when I'm pulling all-nighters to edit a video, or I don't even know. But school is kind of like, it's always stressful until now when I'm in college and I'm not doing anything. But from freshman year to probably the 3/4 point of my senior year, school has always been more stressful than YouTube. And that's kind of just how it is. Okay, I think I'll end it off on this one. How did you blow up so fast? So, here's the thing about blowing up on YouTube. 99.5% of the time, when someone blows up on YouTube, it's not just an overnight success. It is a slowly building result and culmination of someone's effort on YouTube over a period of time. So a lot of people look at my channel and they say, boom, in the span of 8 days, he got the silver play button. Then within a year, he got the gold play button. And he has a second channel that popped off and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, to go from 0 to 1,000 subscribers, it took me 4 months. To go from 1,000 to 20,000 subscribers, it took me 4 months. Then to go from 20,000 to 100,000, it took me 8 days. But the only reason why it took me 8 days was because I was prepared for when my first school SMP video did really well. I said, okay, here's an opportunity. Let's pump out more videos. Boom, another video pumped out. Boom, another video. Boom, another video. Boom, another video. And if my channel had just started and I posted this school SMP video and I wasn't prepared for it to go off, my channel would probably gain a lot of traction. But now what? I can't go anywhere with it because I don't know what I did right. And because I knew what I did right, because I had spent 8 months before posting 60 videos and whatnot, I was like, okay, this is where I want to take it, right? So I think it's really not a great idea to aim for this blow up, to say, I'm going to make sure that this video absolutely blows up, especially if you do not know what you are doing and you do not know why it would blow up, right? I would rather sit there for a year making YouTube videos that all failed, but I was learning after each video. And then as soon as 365 days hit, a video just blew up. That's what I would much rather have than, let's say, my first ever video was a blow up and now I have a bunch of subscribers, I have a bunch of views on one video, but now my channel is going to stagnate because I have no idea what I'm doing. So if you're asking how I did blow up so fast, it's because I was prepared for my video to go viral. And I wasn't sure if it was going to go viral, but it did. And because it did, and because I was prepared for it, I was able to capitalize on it. And I was able to build kind of like a career off of one video because I was prepared. And yeah, that's how I think I did it. Anyways, thank you all for listening to this episode of the test run. I kind of got to get going now because I have other stuff to do, but genuinely, thank you all so much for listening. Also, across like all platforms, Test Run now has over 100,000 streams on, I think it's honestly way more than 100,000, which is crazy. Like I started Test Run a while back, but I never really expected it to get to this point. It was more like a passion project. But yeah, across YouTube and on Spotify, I think Test Run has like over 150,000 streams, which is crazy. That's absolutely nuts. If you did enjoy this episode, because this was kind of like a solo podcast, make sure to leave a comment, or if you're on Spotify, I think there's like a little, I don't even know, Q&A thing that you can fill out. But anyways, make sure to follow, leave a 5-star review if you're on Spotify, subscribe, like, comment if you're on YouTube, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.